right, I think we're ready to go. So here's what I will do, what I usually do. So I record the session, go over whatever the information is. So today we'll do some introduction just to like what Canvas is, sort of go through the main parts, sort of quickly, not boringly. Um, so fine, where you can find all your information. If you have questions and you stop in at any point while I'm doing this, you could either just ask them, I guess, if you have them right away, or you can chat. You can put I don't know how many people have used WebEx before. I don't know. It's not my favorite, but on your WebEx world up here, there's the chat, and then if you click that, it'll open up a chat, and I have one open on a different screen, so you can just ask questions through that. And if I'm like ignoring you or something, you can also just unmute yourself and just ask questions. Which will make more sense once we sort of start off with what we're doing. Okay, I'm going to move this. And so I usually have a PowerPoint of some sort that I put together to try to explain some various things. So here's what I'm hoping this is working, that you can see both of these things. It's a big screen on mine, but all right, here we are, Canvas. So I was going to go through the different pages, right, that matter. Should I start my own? Did my video not start? Mm-hmm. Okay. All of this gets edited out in the perfection that I. Okay. So here are the first thing about Canvas. So the different buttons and so on. So the home page, you have, right, this is sort of just the start here. This is sort of just to get you acclimated to the course. So I'm just going to leave that there. I mean, I'm assuming if you haven't done Canvas before or whatever, you want to definitely take the navigation tour and it'll go through each thing. So I'm not going to bother going through each specific. But here's the deal. So announcements are important. There always will be a weekly announcement. There's a bunch of announcements at the very beginning. So you want to make sure that you read through those, right? So there's like the welcome to the class announcement, the welcome to week one announcement. So for every week, there'll be the welcome to the week announcement where I basically break down, here's the work that we're doing during the week and so on. One thing I wanted to make sure people did do, well, I can do that when I get to the modules. So there's announcements. That's what those are for. The modules are the most important page in any event because this is sort of where the work is and where you can locate things, and everything's broken up into the weeks. But at the very beginning, there is the student attestation, which they want everybody to complete. If you haven't done it, you want to do it. All it is basically acknowledging that you know the policies of the university and stuff like that. So it says it's a quiz, but it's not really a quiz. It just asks you, I acknowledge this, this, and this, like that that you've reviewed the policies of the university, and so you know those. So complete the student attestation as soon as possible if you have not. I also set up a video clips module, right? So what I do a lot of video clips to try to help people for various parts of this. The one that I did yesterday and then I submitted to the discussion board is about using the library to research and start to figure out what you're going to actually do for your main essay, which is what we're doing. So you can go there. I will put all the thing I'm doing right now, I'll post up there too. So that's the video clips world. So the getting started, you want to look through those. The important parts here are there's a book. This is where you access the textbook, which is the major reading material that we have outside of articles that you'll find and so on. So this is the book. Different sections, you can go straight to different pages. If you just type in the page at the very bottom, it'll take you to whatever page you need. So it's easier to find instead of scrolling through. So that's the book. Okay, question and answer. is the discussion board set up just for if you have a particular question while you're looking at stuff, you can go straight to that and then leave questions, and I will give answers to those. I mean, people also email me and they also text me, which I'll show you in a sec, because you can text me also. All right, so we are going through, so announcements page. So the modules page is the most important, right? So it divides everything into weeks. The textbook is up here. And then we have the weeks, and I'll go over that stuff in a minute. But we're still just trying to get through the most important buttons over here on the sort of navigation menu thing. So we have home announcement module. So syllabus is sort of another format that has my biography in it. It has information about the textbooks, and this is all the stuff that they want you to look at, so that when you go to your attestation, right, that thing that I wanted everybody to be sure to do, you basically have said that you've read through these different things, the course outcomes. And if you keep scrolling, what you see is the due dates and all of the assignments in order, like when things happen. And I'm even trying to put my class broadcast there, just so it's part of the schedule. So that's a good place to go just to look. You can also find this when you click on your own grades, which let me see if it'll let me do it. I'm viewing this in a student mode. Yeah, so it also does it in your grades. You can see like what you've submitted and what your grades are. In any event, so that's what they're using the syllabus thing for. It's basically general information about the course. This is like information about me and my career stuff, which is interesting to me, of course. But in any event, so that's there. About the book, and then you can always keep scrolling and get down to the actual assignments. The thing about Canvas is I mean, it's easy to navigate, but also it can tend to give you too many things, really. But anyway, so announcements, weekly announcements show up there. The modules where all the work is done. Syllabus, an easy way to see all the assignments in order. Your grades, to check your grades. The resources, so Chamberlain's trying to put them all in the sort of the same place, and the Writing Center is one of the ones that you're going to want to be able to use, especially for just making sure you have the formatting right for the assignments that we do. So, and it's relatively new. There's a library link there also. There's another link elsewhere, but which you will need. So those are the two that you will really need just for us. All right, yes, so that's the resources world. Oh, it took me away, that's why. Okay. This is something I just discovered last time. I don't know if anyone will want to do this or care, but this chat thing, it might be useful. So I'm online often, right? Just because that's how I am. And so the course chat is sort of like if you're logged into Canvas at a certain time and you go to course chat, you can see who's online, and I'm the test student at the moment. And then you can just chat, like it's just a literal chat. Like if you had a question and I happen to be online, you can use that. It's not a message. It's not a direct message from like you to me. Like everybody can see it. It's just like a chat room type thing. Come to think of it, it might be useful to have it on while I'm doing my weekly things. Anyway, like I said, I just found it sort of. So that's what the chat thing is for. Okay, the people is just a list of everybody in the class. In case, and if I need to make groups, I'll make the groups through here. But we don't need to really worry about that. The new WebEx is what you're watching, and I can't do it because I'm in student mode. It's one of the ways to get into what you're watching right now, the WebEx. Also, I tried to do a thing this time, like where it sent emails out. So I'll have to ask and see if it really did that. But I think it sent it to me. So it should send you an email just reminding you that this Tuesday thing is existing every week. I'm hoping it does that. So that's what the new WebEx is. Then you've got the library guides, which we will need, which I showed you already in my little first video. There's an orientation video that explains pretty quickly how to do things. I also showed you that in my little video, but in mine, I'm actively trying to find sources for this topic that we're dealing with. Okay, so this is Canvas. The other things about Canvas to pay attention to, there's the calendar, which I find useful. I mean, for us, it's, you know, our due dates, as you'll notice, are all very similar. Like they're all really Sundays. So that's not the thing, but you can see what's coming up for if you want to use the calendar. And if you want to send messages, that's what the inbox is for. So that will send a message to my email also. So you can just use the message box for asking questions. Mm-hmm. Okay, modules. Quick rundown of what they look like each week. So these are the beginning modules, right? That's the video clip I was talking about, trying to help people start researching for this essay. So the big thing about this course, right, is that we're doing one major argument research paper in 8 weeks. So every week is a step towards that goal. And we're trying to find subjects that we can discuss, or it's basically an argument or a position paper. So you're going to make an argument having to do with the general subject of poverty and healthcare, right? And so that's super general. So the goal at the moment for this week, um, and some of next week too, is to narrow it down and come up with a pretty solid idea of what you want to argue about regarding these general subjects. So weeks, here's what the week looks like. So the first two things, um, the refresh your knowledge thing, it's always grammar related. So there's usually like a mini lesson and then there's like a quiz thing. But the thing to know is that the quiz does not affect your grade at all. So I'm encouraging people to always do them because it's a super useful way to like just check yourself on sort of these little grammar mistakes. So do them. Even if you fail the quizzes, it's not going to affect your grade at all. So that happens at the beginning of every week. There'll be this grammar thing with a quiz. Then you have sort of the introduction to the week's work, and then the lesson, which is written out, and it also can be part of the lesson can be assigned pages in your textbook, right? But here's like the lesson for this week. So it goes through, it's explaining sort of the main concepts that you need to know and sort of understand for the week to do the assignment. So each week has a lesson. Oops. Okay, and so that's introduction to the week, the lesson for the week, and then we have the actual stuff you have to do. So there is the discussion board. This week there are two. There's usually only one. So this week there's an introductory discussion. This is you just stopping in, telling us about yourself a little bit, saying, hey, I'll be getting on that today and just start, responding, saying hi to everybody. The goal is really to try to make connections with people, right? Like I just have this idea that the better we do that, like the more valuable the whole experience is. Um, like it's sort of the key, I think, to this, especially this kind of learning with the online business. Um, so anyway, that's the introductory discussion. And then there's the regular week one discussion. So for each discussion, see if I have it. Okay, so the discussion requirements. So you need to post twice each week. There's an initial post, which is you responding to um, some sort of prompt or questions or idea, and you want to do like a long, in-depth response. You also want to use sources. Here's something I did want to check and see if you guys can. Let me just go on one. Discussion already. All right, so I have an initial post there where I just sort of introduced the idea of whatever the discussion's about. This is about trying to come up with a research question, basically, subject that you can end up using. The other thing about the discussion board, I always drop things in the discussion board. So that's like the main place for activity, meaning like any video clips that I do, I also put them in the modules, the video clips, but I put them here, but I'll put like sample examples that I write up, PowerPoint, like short PowerPoints or descriptions, just these different things that are trying to help you with whatever the coursework is that week. So you want to pay attention to that. And so like I've already dropped this one little video about how to go into the library and start searching for subject matter that you might be able to use. So the rubric will ask, for the rubric for the discussion board will ask whether you used an external scholarly source. So the idea is to be safe. You want to basically always try to use an external source, a scholarly article that you found in the library, and then quote something from either the lesson or the textbook, right? So you can do something like, usually the discussion has to do with the subject that's been brought up in the lesson, right? So you could quote something from the lesson and be like, okay, so this is what I'm focusing on. Then you find some article and you use part of that. This will get way easier soon because you'll start to gather articles for the research paper. So it's not like you'll have to go out and hunt for a new thing all the time. You'll have the articles and you'll be able to sort of use them in your discussion post. And that's sort of the idea. So it's weird now at the beginning because you're sort of just starting to figure out what you're going to write about or whatever. So in general, though, so in your initial response, you want to quote or use two sources, either from the lesson or textbook, and then from an outside source. So those, and then for the response, meaning you're going to respond to one of your peers. So that's the second discussion post. You want that also to be more in depth. Here's the idea. Here's how I explain it anyway. You want to try to identify some like idea or point that the person is making, and you sort of want to build on that, right? So you don't just want to be like, hey, that was a really good post. I really liked what you said. Instead, you want to be like, yeah, that thing that you said about how poverty really impacts people's ability to get fresh food made me think about this article that I'm reading or something. So if you can make a connection, right, that's always sort of the goal. You make a connection to something that you read or an idea you have. That's how you build on someone's idea. And that's what the rubric sort of talks about that for. It says like, all right, this is what you're supposed to be doing as far as you're not just responding like, hi, this is great. You're trying to be like, oh, this idea you have and talk about that. So those are the two discussions. So each week an initial post and then a response to, and then I will be in there responding to people, trying to get that going. Like I said, trying to make connections between things, connect to people, give ideas, help people figure things out, all that. Okay.
I have a question.
All right. What do you got?
How long does the response to the peer have to be?
You want to make it the longer the better. So so you're thinking a long paragraph or, two short paragraphs. If you want, I can post some examples. Would that be helpful? Let me write this down.
Yeah, that would be helpful. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll just do that. That makes more sense. Yeah, so I'll post some student discussion examples just so you get a sense of what, good ones are and all that stuff. It's a good idea. Um, anything else about discussions for people? We have, let's see. So usually, and the thing that you're looking at right now, you will see in the weekly announcement. In the weekly announcement, I lay out all of the things that you need to do, including the page numbers, including, all of that. So the things that you're seeing now are sort of taken from that. What was the follow-up post? We talked about that. Okay, and so I don't know what'll happen if I do that. Oh. So now I'm talking a little bit about our actual that this week, like what we're doing this actual week. So you're trying to come up with, this is called the research topic and proposal. So it's a proposal for like what you're going to do, essentially. And they give you a template. So the idea is if there's a template, which there are for a few of the weeks, you just want to fill out the template, like just use it. Also because it's in the correct format. So this is APA format, which means APA always has a title page. It has the number, the page number up in the corner. It no longer has the title. It used to have that. Some of you might remember that. Who knows? But that it doesn't have that anymore for student papers. So anyway, use the template because that's the best. Just because it's there and it's easier to do. Okay, so you're trying. This is all engineered or created to try to help people get closer to a topic, right? A subject that will be long enough, meaning you'll be able to write enough about it so that it's not too narrow, and then it's not too broad so that you don't end up saying anything. So this is the whole game with this, with like argument papers, is that you're trying to find a way to argue something, like find a subject or a way to deal with a subject so that it's narrow enough that you have something to say about it and you can find information on it specifically, but also not super, super broad. So this is sort of what they're trying to get you to do. The other thing to think about, another part of what this is about, is trying to make sure that your topic is an arguable topic. What that means is that there is an opposing view that exists, right? So, for example, if I was going to argue that, should America improve its educational system? And I'm like, yes, it should. Well, there's no real other side. Like, no one would ever argue, no, we shouldn't improve America's educational system. So I'm not wording it in the right way so that it's arguable. So that's what I mean by creating arguable. And one of the things I mentioned, I think, in the discussion world was how I use language to help me do that. So I try to come up with a research question that begins with one of these keywords. Let's see if I should is. So you want to come up with a question, that's will be your question, and then your thesis eventually will be your answer. That's sort of the way. So if you read my initial post, right? So here's this part where I try to talk about if you can create a question that begins with one of these words, is, are, will, do or does, or should, that sort of automatically starts to make the subject, whatever it is, into an arguable subject. You can still, create crappy questions using those words that won't work, but it already gives you, so if you start to do, if you just keep that in mind as you're trying to figure out what it is you want to write about, this can be one of the ways that you can test and decide whether you have there are two sides to it, right? Like, should we fix poverty in America? Like, okay, yeah, right. That's not going to be a way to go about that subject because it's so obvious. But instead, you're trying to think about issues, especially with healthcare, about what could be done. Or I think in my first video, when I do the researching for this, you start to come across ideas just by going through the articles in the library. So, and one of them had to do with this idea that we can't really address healthcare until you address poverty. So we're sort of focused on the wrong problem or something. And I started to think, oh, okay, maybe that's something I could argue. So in any event, your goal is to sort of go through, try to find some articles. That's how I did it in my video. Went through, looked at the library, found articles just to help give me some ideas about what things to are out there to argue about or discuss for the subject. So that's what this week's, and always the more is better, right? The more you write, the more engaged you are in whatever you're writing about, and that's always just the answer. You want to always put in more if you can. So they're trying to get you to come up. This is all about narrowing your search, trying to figure out what you're going to argue about. And these things are due on Sunday. The discussion board, I try to, officially, the discussion board is also due on Sunday. But it's better, and I try to make that clear, that if everybody can have their initial post done by Wednesday night, just because then people will have something to respond to, right? And again, like this week is weird because we have 2 discussion posts and so on. But in general, the early, if you can do your full initial response by Wednesday, it gives everybody a chance to like respond to them and so on. Okay. That's the end of that. So I'll also like put some time. Well, it depends. I think I do that though. I put the PowerPoints that I do for the week in the discussion board. So again, the discussion board's where all the stuff will be, like where all the sort of things that I'm trying to help, my little learning and helping activities and so on. Okay. People, anybody who's here, if you have questions, you can, that I haven't talked about or done or something, you can ask them. I'll probably, so what I usually do is I stop the recording, I edit it so that like it's, get rid of like anything dead space stuff, and then I post it. So for people who don't come during the week. But if you do show up, then obviously you have questions, I can spend time talking to people. Again, this will it makes more sense as we go along, as you get deeper into your subject. Right now, we're just sort of trying to figure out. You can also, so you email me. Let me see, I'm going to show you the announcements, or text me. Yeah, so that's my text number there, this one, and it's at the heading of every weekly announcement anyway. So like, yeah, if you're coming up with a subject, or you're thinking maybe the subject will work or maybe it won't or whatever, and you want help deciding or whatever, you can send me a message through Canvas, text me, any of the things. Oops.